All right, welcome back, everyone. We've had a fantastic morning so far. We've got some more great presentations coming to you. Let's go right into it. Next up, we have Bam Resources Corp. It trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol NPEZF, as well as on the CSE under the symbol BBR, and is engaged in the identification, review, and acquisition of latter stage copper and copper, silver, gold assets. Please welcome the VP of Corporate Communications, Joel Warawa. Welcome, Joel.
Thanks, Anna. How are you doing today?
Great. Happy to have you and excited to hear your presentation. Take it away.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Joel Warawa, and I do head up the corporate communications here for Bam Resources. As Anna mentioned, we are a exploration company. We're looking for advanced stage properties, primarily in North America. Our flagship property is in Nevada. It's the Majuba Hill district property. I guess what we'll do is we'll just start off going through the presentation quickly. I'll kind of touch on some of the key points per slide, and then I'll just kind of go through a brief synopsis that I have here written down. And then if you guys have any questions at the end, we can go through them there. All right, so as mentioned, we are on the OTC as NPEZF and on the CSE as BBR. And we're also trading on the Frankfurt. So I'll move to the next slide here. So we are primarily focused in copper, but we do see some of the other semi-precious metals and base metals as something to focus on in the future as well. So today we're focused on the Majuba Hill property, but there are some other properties and some other metals that we are interested in. So Majuba Hill is in Nevada. It is basically, it's about 150 kilometers northeast of the Tesla Gigafactory and about 180 kilometers due north of a bit of east from Reno. The company is focused basically on that property for now. We did have other properties that we had vended into the company over the last 2 years. We decided not to opt to continue the work on them because we did see Majuba as the most predominant and the best asset of the group. So basically, short and sweet, the director is Dave Greenway, is the president and CEO. He's been in the markets for between 20 and 30 years. He's been very successful with regards to acquisitions and developing properties to a pretty significant level. Natasha's our CFO. There I am as the VP. We have Kelly as our corporate secretary. Yari's another one of our favorite directors. He's quite involved with a couple other companies as well and a finance company. So Yari's got his hands into pretty much every facet of the market and has been quite successful. Bryson Goodwin has had quite a bit of success in the markets as well, and he's actually doing quite well with one of his battery companies right now. I'm just going to skip through most of them. The main one that we want to see here is, obviously we have some really good advisory board people. John Percival's quite well off and has done really well in the metal sector in Australia. Dr. Mike Russell and John Ryan are both very experienced mining guys that have decades of experience in the sector. And then, we can get into the copper thing right now, right off the hop. We know that copper is a very hot commodity. We know that it has more than doubled in the past 24 months, even shorter than that. And there's a lot of people that see copper as a very good cycle in the bull markets right now, and predominantly would be for quite some time. The supply and demand ratio is definitely off kilter right now. We do see that a lot of the, even the bigger copper producers right now are kind of getting bottlenecked a little bit. We've seen some of the reaction from stuff that's happening in Chile, and we do feel that the copper cycle right now is a very advantageous one to be in. Further support for the growth of copper, looking at even the 6-month copper chart there. This was taken probably late last year, but even if you still see there, that's a significant climb. And copper at $4.50 today, it's it's an amazing price for the metal right now. And with the EV markets, the way that they're heating up, and as well even with the growth cycle in China for construction, copper is definitely going to see a big demand spike here in the next little bit. That's just a picture of some nice beautiful rock that we did find on our grab sample walk through Majuba Hill. And again, just more quotes talking to the strength of copper on the side there. The one that I quite like, where is it, in this page or the next one? Copper mine supply has been in decline while refinery supply has been increased. So again, it's just furthering the popularity of copper. All right, so now we'll take a little bit of a look here at the Majuba Hill property itself, and kind of we'll start to talk about what the focus of the mineralization is and kind of what we're hoping to do with it. So the oxide copper mineralization, which is this section here, this is an older definition of the known mineralization. What we've actually since been able to do is further expanse this whole region here for the oxide cap, and what our primary target is actually for this year is we're going to prove up as much of the oxide cap that we can, because we believe that what we should do is to first identify the easy economical copper deposit, which of course would be the surface deposit here, the oxide cap, and then what we're going to do is we're going to try and identify the full zone for that cap this year with our 2021 drill program, which will, as I mentioned, focus on identifying the actual true width and depth of that cap and to see how far it strikes on the far side and how deep it strikes underneath. Our best grade so far on the drill program that we ran last year is in the oxide copper. We got 2.4% over 134 feet, which was, I mean, obviously, and that's at surface, so that's a pretty significant find, and that's a pretty significant strike length. So we know that the oxide cap is quite rich, and we know that it got some pretty good depth as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to clearly define that this year, and then the subsequent 43-101 that comes out later on this year will also be able to show us, economically how much of that is mineable. We do know that there is a much larger and widely disseminated sulfide target that is below. We know that with some of the drill holes that we did do last year, the grades, they are economical. It's a widely disseminated system, so obviously we're not going to see the 2.4% copper equivalent that we did on the oxide cap. But looking at the bulk tonnage, it becomes quite attractive when you're able to identify something that's north of 500 million tons. I do strongly believe that altogether, the Majuba Hill district will prove to be at least 1 billion tons of ore. The cutoff for the continuous grade on the sulfide is going to be lower than the oxide, but it will be still a significant find, in my opinion. Anyway, we're just showing more of the geophysics and more of the area with regards to what we've done in the previous holes. So that's 1 and 2 down there. And then we did some drilling into the sulfide last year. So we went really deep last year. And we did see some native copper in that, which was announced fairly recently in the results that we put out. There was that 4% copper there, which was quite nice to see. It wasn't a very long strike zone, but it was still, some pretty significant grades there. And historical production on Majuba Hill. So it was a historical producer within the last 100 years or so. They were able to produce some metal. So as you can see here, 2.8 million pounds of copper, 184,000 ounces of silver, almost 900,000 pounds of lead, 106,000 pounds of zinc, 21,000 pounds of tin, which is, again, recoverable. Tin wouldn't be a big puller these days, but it was quite big back in the day for, during wartime and even for construction back in the day. And then, just shy of 6,000 ounces of gold. So the gold and silver indicators on the property are there. Originally, when Buster picked up the property 20 plus years ago, he actually did see it as a significant gold and silver property with regards to just being able to suss it out and see what the mineralization was. He knew the copper was there, but he saw it as kind of a gold property. And then as he continued to develop and work on the property, more and more indicators came to his eyes with regards to basically it coming out and it being emerging as a significant copper property. So that's kind of where we're focusing on it now. Obviously, the gold and silver indicators are going to help us with the copper equivalent, but it would be a byproduct, definitely not the primary. So the exploration model, it'll just kind of show you here if you wanted to zoom in afterwards and take a look just where our targets have been thus far. As you can see, the purple there, the lining is quite wide and quite disseminated. So that would be the sulfide target. The little red guy there would be the oxide, and then the green is kind of the new exploration targets that we did find with some of the work we did last year. This kind of shows you the side bird's eye view of the mountain, and showing you kind of the, if you look here, the current drill targets shows the historical production. So you some of the grab samples. Down on the left side is the last chance, and that's where they did the primary production out of the property in the past. So going into the mountain and pulling out the silver, gold, and copper through the adit there. And so it's just kind of a nice way to get a different view of the property itself. So as you can see here, it does show you slightly right there, 350 to 500 million ton scale is what we're kind of shooting for right now. We do believe tonnage wise that we could be able to stretch past that easily, but right now, without being too forward thinking, we're gonna stick to that scale. So this talks basically, we're going in and talking about the work program for last year. So we did have 2 significant drill programs last year. The latter half was the one that went into the sulfide deposit for the drilling. The first half of the year, the work program was the oxide cap, which is where we came back with that 2.4 copper equivalent over the 138 feet. So it talks about just kind of the core that we got and some of the RC holes that we got back, and looking into furthering that program. The other major thing that we did actually was we had done some road construction just to get up to the appropriate site to do the drilling. And with the road construction, we did a fair amount of grab sampling and realized that we actually had a second, if not third zone to look at and to focus on down the road for exploration and development. So the crazy thing about Majuba is the more money and more time that we spend on it, it just keeps showing us indicators that the system is really wide disseminated, and it's just got some legs to it. So right now, our main focus on the project is just boots on the ground, money in the ground. So we want to basically be able to do as much work as we can to significantly improve the resource, to assist with shareholder value, as well as to advance the company. So again, looking at more core here, just some beautiful rock. Like the slabs that we got, some of the slabs that we got back from the coring was just absolutely gorgeous. The veining and the mineralization in it was just quite beautiful. And so a lot of really favorable indicators that there's some really good mineralization in the ground. And as I mentioned before, obviously part of the demand for us right now is just to focus on methodically proving up the resource. And there's just a couple more for the program. Again, showing us more of the zone here, more of the targeting that we did with the drill program. Sorry, guys, I'm going to skip through a couple of slides here. All right, so now if you guys really wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of seeing where the actual holes were punched and how they came back, this would be the way to look at it. It's the 3D model that we're working on updating for the 43101. So we will have more data to provide to markets later this summer once the 43101 is done. But looking into the sections here, you'll see how the mineralization and the sulfide, it's just such a deep, we don't even know what the bottom is, to be honest with you. Like our last holes that we did last year, we were in mineralization when we pulled out. We just basically didn't have enough pipe to keep running down hole, and for us to re-rig and to shoot down another hole of another even 500 feet would have been double the price. So we just thought methodically it didn't make sense for us to go in there and do that yet. We were excited about what we saw in there, but like I said, our focus for this year is to really define and to be able to come back with a substantially larger number of the known oxide deposit. Currently, we know there's about 20 million tons there that we've been able to prove up thus far, which is not, it's not the number that's going to drop pants, but it's definitely a great starting point for us. And we feel that by the end of the year, that number should be significantly more. In an ideal world, we'd like to see 80 to 100 million tons that we were able to prove up this year. But I mean, even if we were able to double to get to 40 million tons, it's a great start. I do think there'll be more than that, though. And then again, it's going to go into some of the highlights on the left side here. If you see, 50 feet of 0.72, 155 feet of 0.68. So like there's some really nice mineralization right from surface down. So we know that it's going to be a great program for us this year. And we know that the results are going to come back at pretty favorable cross sectors. Again, looking at some of the old core here. just kind of in the shacks. We've got a shack on site, but we also have a lot of historical data as well that was done before us. So we've got north of 80,000 feet of drill core that we've been able to identify and look at just based off of the historical drilling that was done, as well as the core that we've got in the last couple of years back. More core shack here. Again, just notifying it's right there. This is the one right here. This is a beautiful result. 146 feet at 1.41 copper and 17.4 parts per million silver. So at 0 to 146 feet, which is looking at 2.38 copper equivalent. That's a beautiful number, and that's right from surface. So there's definitely some good mineralization there in the oxide cap. All right. I apologize if I am going too quick. I wasn't really notified about this presentation from my end until quite recently, so I wasn't really as prepared for it as I would like to be. But if we'll have some time to chat at the end, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. So looking at the picture here on the right, this here was the native copper that we found in hole 9. Again, it's a veinlet system. It's a veinlets with regards to the mineralization for the native copper, but we were able to show that as a half meter at 4%. So as we drill down deeper, we do expect to see some more of this more of this disseminated native copper in the rock, and so that will be something that we will eventually be looking for in some of the further drilling that we do. Forward-looking statements, obviously just talking about how, everybody would love to see everything come out as fantastic, but you don't always, it's a guessing system, so we hope for the best. And then share structure, this one's a bit old, so I will go through and I'll provide some of the information that I have with regards to the share structure here. So issued out right now is 79.5. We've got 2 million cash in the till. The drill program for this year is already paid for. The work program for this year is already paid for. As I did mention, the focus for the 2021 program is the oxide cap and defining how wide and deep that is and what the actual tonnage would be. As I did mention earlier, we are anticipating a NI 43-101 compliant resource estimate and document to focus on the oxide cap, as well as talk a bit more about the property itself and how we've been able to increase the land size quite significantly. We're currently sitting at 15.1 square miles, and we've been acquiring all the contingent pieces of the property here over the last 6 months. When we completed the 2020 drill program, one of the discussions that we had at the last shareholder meeting and with the management meeting was that part of our focus should be to make sure that everything around the Majuba Hill property is owned by Bam 100%. So that was one of the things that we wanted to make sure of, was that we were very strategical about that, because we do feel as the property and the mineralization progresses, obviously that property will get more and more expensive. So wrap it up while you can, while it's cheap, and that way we have a nice solid land package deal that down the road, if we are able to do the work that we want to do and we are able to prove up the resource that we want to prove up, then we'll have an opportunity to look at being a buyout target, or maybe JVing with a producer to get the oxide cap into production. We want to keep that avenue open, but we also, as I mentioned, want to make sure that we're being as intelligent about it as possible. We don't want to just go and blow $5-10 million in a drill program and not do it methodically and have a bunch of results that really don't push us to the max level that we can on return. So with that, Buster is working really closely with all the different geos that he's talked to in the past, all the companies for the deep IP and the drone surveys, and basically just trying to be methodical and smart with regards to the money we spend, because we have a really low burn rate right now, which we want to maintain, and basically not need to go to market for financing until the opportunity presents itself at the proper share level, or share price, I should say. To be honest with you, aside from that, that's pretty much the meat and potatoes of what I had as far as information on the company. As you can see right here, we have a toll-free number as well as my email and just the general info email. If anybody ever has questions with regards to the company, please feel free to reach out to me directly. We also have the ability to sign up on our website for news dissemination and any information or news that we put out to market. So aside from that, I will finish the presentation and open up any questions or any other information you guys want from me.
Thank you, Joel. We do have a few questions, so
Sure.
let's get to some of these questions, and then we can you can close it up. So talk about your Nevada properties. Are there any majors in the space currently producing around you?
There are. Nevada Copper is within the vicinity. I wouldn't say it would be in close proximation, but they're within 100 miles or so. There are a couple producers. I mean, obviously, most of Nevada is pretty predominant in the gold sector. There are a couple of, like I said, Nevada Copper is one of them. There's 3 or 4 in the state that are working right now, and 2 producers. So that was the other thing too, is when Buster originally was looking at the property and trying to suss out, what he could actually get out of it. His initial intention was gold. He thought it was, a placer gold style deposit. He was looking at it because of the historical production. He thought that would probably be the easiest grab on the property. As he continued to work on the property and walk it and do grabs and small little drill programs, the indicators just became more and more predominant that he was looking at a classic porphyry style deposit. And so it surprised him, and it surprised even the grad students that we have from University of Nevada that have come out and done some work program on the property. And they really haven't seen this type of topography or geological sediment style deposit in the area. So it's kind of like, it's weird because he sees it as a discovery that really wasn't even expected. So with regards to the producers, there are similarities to some of their rock formations and deposit formations, but it's kind of a new step for us and a new step for Nevada with regards to the style of deposit it is.
Great. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the benefit of the spin out to the current shareholders.
Well, basically, the short and the sweet of it is that the whole package of the company is really well presented in the fact that we're in a situation that is a very mining friendly area. We have these really great initial results to show that it is a beautiful, it will be a beautiful style of deposit, and the fact that we're in this copper cycle right now that's looking at the alternative energies, the green sector, even with the EV vehicles, we've had so much clout back and forth with regards to being as close as we are to Tesla, and Tesla looking to buy all these advanced properties across the world. Well, obviously, the thought sentiment is if you can buy something in your backyard, rather than ship it across the world, then why wouldn't you? So there's a lot of really advantageous situations that we can get into, but we want to make sure that we're methodical. One of the things that we talked about early on in the conception of the company and kind of moving forward was that we didn't just spin wheels. We want to make sure at the end of the day that we have something that's got some legs. So right now our main focus is just presenting the best opportunity possible to shareholders, and down the road, hopefully, be a target.
Great. Have you ever released any proven reserve numbers prior to your 43-101, which is coming out?
The only thing we have prior to what's coming out this year is the historical data. There is a small proven resource in the oxide cap of about 20 million tons. So we know that's there right now. And that was just done with historical data and some of the old 3D modeling that we had from before. As mentioned, with the program that we're going to run this year, Buster, everybody is quite confident that we will be able to at least double that, if not more. But yeah, just going off that old historical data, we were able to have we have a small oxide cap right now, but we know it's significantly larger.
Talk about your current burn rate. What is it? And how much money will you need to raise before you get into production? And when do you plan to begin production? Give us a timeline.
Well, to be honest, right now, our burn rate is really low. Aside from incidentals, travel expenses, which is obviously next to nothing right now, and the rent of our office, which is also next to nothing. We have a very, very low burn rate there because we're in this kind of whole COVID verse right now. The typical burn rate that you would see a company go through, it's just there's so much difference. 10 years ago or even 12 months ago to what it is today. So, we've got over 2 million in the till right now. Our program is already paid for this year, work and drill. And so yeah, like we have warrant money coming in all the time. Like, so we've seen a nice little cash influx come in as well, which is obviously assisted. With regards to the amount of time that it's going to take, again, we're not sure which direction we're going to go into down the road. When we originally started the company, we did, and we saw the property as kind of what it is today. We originally thought, it'd be nice to do 2 or 3 years worth of hard work, a lot of drills in the ground, a lot of money in the ground, and then potentially become a joint venture or a buyout target. With regards to going into production, if we were to go that route, then what we would be focused on is the oxide, because it's the easiest to get to, and the view of it is that surface, you crush it and you send it out and you're done. So in that sense, like there would have to be a pretty substantial raise to do that, to even get to that point where we were talking about permitting for it. But in the meantime, like we won't need to raise anything at all this year, unless we did a very advanced program in the latter half of the year. And in order for us to do that, we would have to see some significant results from the first plan for this year. And so the elevated share price would obviously be reflective of that. Right now, our game plan is to be very stingent with the money and to continue to put it into the ground. So yeah, to be bluntly honest, right now there's no need for us to raise money. We've got more than enough in the bank, and if the opportunity presented itself down the road, we would definitely want to make sure that we were at a good share price to not dilute any further.
All right. Well, we do have a few more questions, but we're going to send them directly to you so you can answer them directly to our viewers. What a great presentation, Joel. Thank you so much. And we really look forward to all of your updates. Thank
you so much, Anna. Thank you, everyone that came today. I do appreciate your guys' attendance. And like I said, if you have any questions for me directly, please feel free to call or email. And aside from that, have a fantastic day, and everyone stay safe.
All right. Thank you, Joel. Thank you all. We have some more great presentations coming up in just a second. Remember, you're going to experience a black screen for just a brief moment as we move on to our next presenter, but stay with us because we're coming right back.